naming of the terrace was a happy accident. It must have been an accident, for Jenkins Avenue crossed it at right angles, and just to the north ran 60th Street. No one could have guessed when the terrace was laid out that the name would prove so appropriate, and that the comfortable cottages would have such a cordial, neighborly look, as if nodding greetings to one another across their neat strips of lawn. When the name Friendly Terrace appeared on the street lamps at the corner, there were no smiling faces visible at the front windows of the houses, no plump babies rolling over the lawns, no girls gathering on one another's porches like robins in the boughs of a cherry tree, or strolling along the sidewalk 2 by 2 with their arms about each other's waists. The naming of the terrace must have been a happy accident, or else an inspiration. There was usually a girl in evidence on Friendly Terrace at any hour of the day, and this morning there were 3 of them. They ranged from tall Priscilla, who was 5 feet 7, and mortally afraid of growing taller, down to Amy, who was almost as broad as she was long, and who was in a chronic state of announcing her determination to leave off eating candy next week. Ruth, who on this occasion served as the connecting link between the 2 extremes, was a slender girl whose alert air told plainly that she was on the watch for something or somebody. "Once when my Aunt Fanny was coming to make a visit," Amy observed reminiscently, "her train was 6 hours late. Just think if Peggy's train—" "Don't!" exclaimed Priscilla rather fretfully, and Ruth said with decision, "Oh, Peggy's train couldn't be late. She's coming just a tiny bit of the way. It might be there was a wreck," Amy insisted triumphantly. "That was the matter when Aunt Fanny came. A freight train was wrecked just ahead of them, and they had to stand on the track for hours and hours. We waited luncheon for her till I was almost starved." The other girls exchanged amused smiles. The thought of Amy undergoing the pangs of starvation was likely to present itself in a humorous light. Amy saw the look and understood it, but was far from being offended. In point of disposition, Amy was as sweet as the confections she was always on the point of denying herself. An appreciative giggle showed that she understood her friend's point of view. "That's always the way," she said, with unimpaired cheerfulness. "Fat people never get any sympathy." She stopped abruptly, for Ruth had uttered a stifled scream and was pinching her arm. "The hack!" cried Ruth. "The hack's coming! Peggy's here!" The non-committal vehicle, rapidly approaching from the direction of the avenue, was mud-stained and shabby, but the appearance of Cinderella's golden coach would hardly have been the occasion for greater excitement. Ruth clasped her hands, her color coming and going. Tall Priscilla forgot her dignity and capered like a 5-year-old, while Amy went tripping down the street to meet the hack, which, of course, passed her, reducing her to the necessity of following in pursuit, panting and very red in the face. All along the terrace, people came to the windows at the sound of wheels, for from the mothers down to the babies, everyone knew that Peggy Raymond was coming home that morning. Even Taffy, Peggy's dog, bounded out to add his mite to the general welcome. "Talk of the intelligence of animals," gasped Priscilla, as Taffy shot between Ruth and herself, narrowly avoiding upsetting both. "That dog knows it's Peggy just as well as we do. Oh, why don't the man stop in the right place?" The mud-splashed vehicle came to a standstill midway between Peggy's home and the vacant cottage door. Before it had fairly halted, the girls were abreast of it. "Here we are, honey. Hurry up, we're dying for a sight of you." "Oh, don't be such a slowpoke, even Taffy is losing patience." This last comment was unnecessary, as Taffy was speaking for himself, barking uproariously, and leaping about with an air of the keenest anticipation. The door of the hack opened, and very deliberately a girl stepped out. She was a tall girl, dressed in black, which added to her apparent slenderness. Her lips, which suggested a degree of self-repression unusual in a girl of her age, were tightly set. She did not look in the direction of the crestfallen trio ranged along the sidewalk. "Why," cried Amy, who had an odd fashion of announcing discoveries which had been apparent to everyone for some time, "it isn't Peggy after all." We thought you were somebody else," exclaimed Priscilla, with considerably less than her usual self-confidence.